The funeral was over, the final prayer had been spoken. As everyone slowly walked away from my wife's grave, the gravedigger quietly grabbed my arm. His face had turned pale. He looked over his shoulder to make sure nobody was watching. Then he whispered words that changed my life forever. "Your wife paid me to bury an empty coffin." Before I could speak, he slipped an old brass key into my hand and said, "Do not go home. Go to room 24 right now." What I discovered behind that locked door uncovered a secret my wife had protected for years. Stay with me because every minute of this story brings another shocking twist. The rain had finally stopped, but the cold wind still swept across the cemetery. I stood silently beside the grave, watching the last handfuls of soil cover the coffin that supposedly held the woman I had loved for 30 years. Friends offered their condolences before leaving one by one. Soon the only people left were me and the old gravedigger. He walked toward me slowly with trembling hands. His face looked troubled, as if he had carried a heavy burden for days. He quietly asked if we could speak in private. Thinking he wanted to discuss the funeral, I followed him behind a row of ancient trees. He lowered his voice until it was almost impossible to hear. "Sir, I have done this work for 40 years. I have buried thousands of people, but I have never done what your wife asked me to do." My heart skipped. "What are you talking about?" He looked directly into my eyes. "Your wife paid me months ago. She told me there would come a day when I would bury an empty coffin. She made me promise not to tell anyone until after the funeral." I stared at him in complete disbelief. "That is impossible." Without saying another word, he reached into his pocket and placed an old brass key in my hand. "Do not go home. Go to room 24 at the old Riverside Hotel. Open the door with this key. Everything will make sense." Before I could ask another question, he walked away without looking back. I drove to the hotel with hundreds of questions racing through my mind. My wife had never mentioned this place. She had never spoken about room 24. Yet somehow she had planned everything before her death. The hotel looked abandoned. Dust covered the windows and only one lamp still glowed inside the lobby. The receptionist looked at the brass key and silently nodded before pointing toward the second floor. Room 24 waited at the end of a long hallway. My hands shook as I unlocked the door. Inside the room stood a wooden table covered with neatly arranged envelopes. There was also a small tape recorder. The first envelope read, "If you are reading this, then my final plan has begun." I froze. The recording began to play. My wife's familiar voice filled the room. "My love, if you are hearing this, then I am gone. I know this is painful, but everything I did was to protect you from a truth that could have destroyed our family." She explained that years earlier she had uncovered a dangerous financial fraud involving someone close to the family. She had secretly collected evidence for decades. If the wrong people believed the evidence was still with her, they would continue searching our home. That was why she arranged the empty coffin. She wanted everyone to believe the secret had been buried forever. But the real evidence had always been hidden somewhere else. Inside the final envelope was another key and a map leading to an old safety deposit box. The following morning I opened the box. Inside were documents, photographs, and signed statements exposing the entire conspiracy. Authorities soon confirmed that the evidence solved a case investigators had struggled with for years. Only then did I fully understand my wife's final act of courage. She had sacrificed her reputation to protect the people she loved. She knew that one final mystery would lead me to the truth. Sometimes the greatest act of love is not saying goodbye. Sometimes it is leaving behind the truth that only one person can uncover. The gravedigger was never the mystery. The empty coffin was never the secret. The real secret was the promise my wife made long before her final day. If this story touched you, remember that trust, hope, and courage can survive even the darkest moments. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts below. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more unforgettable mystery stories.